Hello, welcome to Renee's Kitchen. I'm Ashley, and on this episode, I'm going to be making beef and broccoli for my second time. Previously, I made this on the channel before. The sauce from one was definitely watered down, maybe because I used beef broth. Before using beef broth, I didn't have much sauce, but adding the beef broth to it, and definitely I see why it did water down, but I was fine with that because at the end I was going to add a little extra more seasoning on it to improve the flavor. The cooking wine reminds me a bitter, what's it called, umami taste, but it gives me like E&J type of vibe, like some liquor, brown liquor type of vibe, rather than like cooking wine, which is like a white favorite type of wine in this case. But it does add a depth of flavoring. Step one. And then with the beef, there's not really much like seasoning when it comes to the beef. So it's like the salt comes in the soy, and then you have all the aromatics that goes with the beef, and that's about it. Now, like while I use ginger, and two, I feel like maybe if I would have cut it thinner, comparing to my last time making beef and broccoli, I use ribeye. Ribeye is pretty known to have a kind of high ratio of fat, and so when I was cooking the meat, definitely had a lot of fat in ribeye. This case, no, it didn't. The sirloin top steak, for one, it's more of a meat and not a, wait, hold on. Starting off, I want to talk about the steak. The sirloin top steak, it's more of a meat without any fat, for one. I tried to pick one that had a good amount of fat and a good amount of meat in it. Alright, so here's some things I want to point out while making this beef broccoli. Starting off with the meat. Marinated longer than, I'll say 30 minutes. So like the peroxide, so the baking soda will actually have more time to break up like the fibers within the meat to be more tender. And the seasoning in the marinating was not that strong at all. I feel like the baking soda definitely stood out just a tad bit more than the actual seasoning that the ingredients recommended, pretty much. And at first I didn't like season it because I wanted to follow the recipe as is. But close to the end, I did add more seasoning because I felt like it was just missing a tad bit of seasoning within the meat. It was a little bland, and it was tasting more like the meat rather than the actual seasonings of the ingredients that was added to the dish. I wish I would have marinated longer than, I'll say 30 minutes. So like the so the baking soda will actually have more time to break up like the fibers within the meat to be more tender. And the seasoning in the marinating was not that strong at all. I feel like the baking soda definitely stood out just a tad bit more than the actual seasoning that the ingredients recommended, pretty much. And at first I didn't like season it because I wanted to follow the recipe as is. But close to the end, I did add more seasoning because I felt like it was just missing a tad bit of seasoning within the meat. It was a little bland, and it was tasting more like the meat rather than the actual seasonings of the ingredients that was added to the dish. Rice was good, perfect. Broccoli, I could have found a different way of cooking it, maybe. I kind of felt like I boiled it too long when I was cooking the broccoli. Shouldn't have boiled it so long because it's going to cook again with the meat. Alright. Previous restaurant I was going to, it will have like not a beef taste, but it will have like this cornstarch flour substance type of taste to it, coating on it. But like in this case, no, it didn't have that. I think if I had a wok, it would be better. But one thing I made sure that it didn't get sticky in a way, as far as like stuff getting coated to the pan. I'll cook the meat, and when it start getting like the beef on the pan, I'll take the meat out, wash the pan off to make sure that it's like a new fresh coat. Because if it get too much stuff sticking to the pan, like it affects the way it cooks the whole food. So yeah. The sauce from one It was definitely watered down. Maybe because I used beef broth. Before using beef broth, I didn't have much sauce. But adding the beef broth to it, I see why it did water it down. But I was fine with that because at the end I was going to add a little extra more seasoning on it to improve the flavor. The cooking wine reminds me a bitter, what's it called, umami taste, but it gives me like E&J type of vibes, like some liquor, brown liquor type of vibes, rather than like cooking wine, which is like a white favorite type of wine in this case. But it does add a depth of flavoring, but you gotta be mindful what it works good with. So yeah, and then cooking with the stir fry, I use ginger, garlic. What else? Ginger, garlic, and chives. Now, a few things I definitely would incorporate the ginger and actually all three in the meat rather than actually in the pan. But I see like in the pan you actually like seasoning the oil to taste like the aromatics. Now I think I would add the aromatics better into the meat because I think that actually would bring more flavor to the meat. Cause without the flavor, it's not gonna taste good as it should. You feel me? So here are some things. No, okay. And another thing for the meat, I saw that it will help improve the beef flavoring. It's basically the sesame oil. Now, yeah, because when I was cooking it, I was like, I'm not really tasting that beef, that deep in depth beef flavoring with it. But it all has to do with the seasoning too when I think about it. But I kept on adding more sesame oil, and I saw that sesame oil definitely brings it out. But it doesn't get that dark, deep flavoring. So I definitely know that next time I definitely put the aromatics with the steak. Let it marinate more than 30 minutes, probably for 24 hours to a day before. And just season it. Add the regular ingredients, which is what it says to do, but actually add more salt or like bouillon or garlic, granulated garlic to help improve the flavor, or even beef. And I think that will definitely help it elevate the flavor profile to it. It definitely help brings the dish to like a level 7 to a level 10 with its flavoring. Now it can be just a little bit too greasy, but that's fine, right? Like I said earlier, add You better stop playing with me. So this how it looks. I don't really like beef or broccoli, but the rice came out nice. It's raining. So how do you feel about it?
I like it. It's good.
Okay.
It's good.
You gotta speak up louder.
It's good. 8 hours. 10.
What could be changed in this dish?
A little more gravy.
A little more gravy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. Okay. Like the thickness of the gravy. Yeah, it's kind of watery in a way.
Yeah.
Because I should never did it all together. I should cook the sauce first, then add the meat. I'm gonna do that now. Why not?
I like that liquor.
I don't. Now here's some things that I would change within this beef and broccoli dish. I would definitely simmer the broth first so it can create this thick gravy consistency, not too thick but nice and watery consistency. Because one thing I feel like I did wrong was adding the beef and the broccoli and then add the sauce together. Like that right there fucked it up because it caused my beef to cook more. When you cook it more, it made it a little more tougher, and I didn't want it to be that way. Tender and tough is two different things. And I will cut back boiling the broccoli so much because it's gonna cook again once you add everything together. That's more heat. So that's definitely will minimize boiling. Once it turn that close to bright green, take it out ASAP. Put it on cold ice water, and then add it with the beef and gravy. Once the gravy is thickened, sesame oil and the beef to be marinated is the garlic, ginger, and chives in the meat. But with the garlic, make sure you chop it up, add a little salt to improve and bring out more of the garlic flavor, because that does improve the depth of the flavor no matter what it is. Because I always do this. I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I do it. So here is my 1-2 about it. Comparing to the last dish, the last time doing beef and broccoli, it's a big difference. And I also changed the beef broth because the first time I used a beef base didn't taste good. This time I used like a off-brand Kroger beef broth. It's more watery content, so it's like you have more leeway to actually move to bring what flavor you want to, what type of direction of flavor you want, because there's more room to it because it's watery compared to being like super salty content. Thank God it's not that. And what else? Seems like broccoli has been like the kind of the one thing that I feel like sometimes I overcook broccoli. And next time I want to improve on the broccoli. The rice came out great, came out nice and flaky. I got my skills of making rice, the perfect rice, pretty good. Kudos to me. That's about it. Like, it's just the content of marinated, adding more seasoning to the meat to be more tender, boiling the sauce so it can have like a little light thick, literally light thick gravy to the consistency of it, and that's about it. But I do overall rate the dish a 8 out of 10. And like I listed before, there are some things that I could improve for the dish, for real. So that being said, thanks for checking out Renee's Kitchen on cooking beef and broccoli. And make sure you like, subscribe, share the video, and be blessed. Stay tuned until our next episode. I'll be making some type of thin bean noodle dish. It's more Asian, Chinese inspired dish again. These videos now are definitely going to be different type of videos or just trying new dish. So if you have any ideas of what I should try, make sure you just put it in the comments below, and I'll look into it and find what ingredients to make the next dish. Peace out.